You smell that? Yes, we are in commitment season, and Oklahoma is in the running for one of the top athletes in the country, top 5 to be exact, as well as top player in the state of Oklahoma. Hometown kid that's looking to pick one of the home state programs in Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. So we've got to dive into the film and talk about CJ Nixon. We've talked about him in the past, but there's more about him that we got to dive into, because even though the predictions are there, there's some things that may be concerning about winning his services. So let's dive into that. Before we do that, welcome to Sooner or Later Sports. I'm your host, Jay. Thank y'all for pulling up to the channel. Y'all know what it is. Hop in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Do you feel like the Sooners can pull off this big pickup of a top 5 athlete, top 200 player in the country, top 3 player in Oklahoma, arguably the number 1 in CJ Nixon? Love to hear from you all. Join the conversation. So let's pull them up, watch some film, talk about CJ, and I'm going to give you my reasons why I think Oklahoma can land him and why I'm a little concerned about Oklahoma's chances of actually getting the services. Let's dive in. Of course, y'all see CJ here. Put the on 3. They have him 6'5". I've been seeing 6'6" in a few places. 6'6", roughly 230 now. Like he's a big kid, right? Out of Weatherford, Oklahoma, which is probably about an hour and some change outside of Oklahoma City. Smaller town, but at the same time, it's not far from OKC. I mean, like I said, about an hour or so drive. He is ranked here, as you can see, consensus. He's about 153rd in the country. Composite for 247, 138th. So he's roughly top 150 in the country. Just about everyone has him in the top 5 in Oklahoma as an athlete. And he's a top 5 athlete in high school football. Dude's athletic. He can play. And of course, he dropped his top 2, which is between Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. Now, that's where you say, okay, he wants to stay home. That's huge, right? Especially on the football front, because there's been some players that had the desire to get out the state. And an athlete like CJ Nixon, the big thing with him is he also hoops. He really can hoop. Like, he's a good basketball player. And so because of that, the opportunity to leave the state is always a lot bigger than staying in. But granted, the good thing for us is going to the SEC. As a long-standing member of the SEC, we seem to attract some of these kids to go there, right? But when you look at him play, right, when I was watching the film, I'm like, yeah, this dude does everything. So he plays edge. He also plays wide receiver. You can have him play tight end. He can step out. Like I said, he can go in at tight end. He can step out, go to the wide receiver spot. He can catch passes. He can hit people. So he has all of the components you're looking for in somebody that's just freakishly athletic. He can bull rush. He can get past dudes. He can catch in traffic. Like, if you name it, CJ Nixon probably can do it on the field. And at his frame, I mean, they have him listed, like I said, 6'5". I seen in his listing 6'6". I think actually Hayes Fawcett, when he dropped his graphic, he's listed at 6'6", 235. And I think that's probably more of an accurate representation of what he is. He looks bigger than what, the numbers say. But he, like I said, he can play tight end. He can flex out from tight end to wide receiver in the slot. He's a threat everywhere he's at. Big two-way frame, basketball player. I've watched him hoop a little bit. Yeah. Some programs have been wanting him on the court. And last season, he gave us 34 catches, 577 yards, 5 touchdowns, while also getting 54 tackles, 5 tackles for a loss, a sack, and 5 pass breakups. He's very raw in his talent, and he has the ability of... There's a lot of growth opportunity here, right? Just because of how freakishly athletic he is. He's a threat. Playing linebacker, he can do good at that. He can do good at playing edge. I think he's going to play edge at the collegiate level. I think that's where he desires to play. But at the same time, he can also go tight end. I know that we've had concerns about the tight end recruiting here at Oklahoma, and CJ may be able to fix that with his capabilities, right? He may be a dude to be like, you know what? You want to play tight end? Let's see what you look like. And they put him to work, and he cooks. So if you've had super concerns about tight end, I'm not as concerned, because I think that he's one player that can walk in and do that. Now, Of course, we're hyping him up. We've seen predictions on him. Colin Kennedy over there, 247, has a prediction in. Josh McCuistion over at Sooner Scoop and On 3, he has a prediction in for him. And if I'm correct, let me verify this really quickly. If I'm correct, Parker Thune as well as Brandon Drum at OU Insider on the rival side has already put in some forecasts for him. They both have. They put in their forecast for him to come to the Sooners as well. So there's a lot of confidence around him coming. Now, I told y'all at the beginning of the video, there were some concerns for me when it comes to him actually picking Oklahoma. My biggest concern is he wants to play basketball too, right? So we all know CJ Nixon, the wide receiver / athlete from, at the time, Millwood. Now he's at, if I'm correct, at Douglas High School in Oklahoma City. He was one that was going to play football and basketball at the next level, and he decommitted from Oklahoma end of last year. Now, granted, nobody was concerned about it. As great as an athlete as Nickens is, we got Emmett Jones, who seems to do a very good job of finding wide receivers when he wants them, right? The ones he truly wants. And Jaden hadn't come to Oklahoma in a while. So it was like, okay, may have something to do with basketball. May have been they don't want him to play both, blah, blah, blah. Well, CJ wants to play both. And so I guess the question is Oklahoma going to be okay with him playing? That's something I do not know. But that is where, if there's a concern, that's where my concern would lie. Because if Oklahoma doesn't want him playing basketball on top of football, because of course the games overlap, the seasons overlap, and really the only ones I've seen that have been able to do both and did it at a high level, I mean, was the freakish athlete, you know, in Julius Peppers, who did it in North Carolina, him and Ronald Curry. You know, so you had two dudes that were freaks on the football field as well as pretty freakish on the court. So it kind of made sense. Could Oklahoma use CJ Nixon on the basketball court? You're darn right we could. But I don't know what that looks like. I'm not telling y'all it won't happen. I'm just telling you I'm being transparent with it. That would be my concern if we did not land him. It could be something to do with basketball. I don't think it has anything to do with football. I think he's sold here on the football aspect, but the basketball component is going to be the piece we're going to be testing time. Now, baseball's fine because baseball's in another season, right? Baseball's in the spring. And so it's why the Taylor Tatums and James Nestas, the Kyler Murrays of the world have been able to work on that. And if we can, you know, woo over Jonah Williams, they'd be able to do that because the system is in place for them to do both, especially because football is so demanding. That's where the concern comes in on basketball side. So I don't know, but we'll see. Hop in the comments. Let me know. Do you think that Oklahoma has a good chance of landing CJ? I personally think they will. And I think a commitment's probably going to come very soon. You made it this far, like the content, please hit that like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe. We'd love for y'all to join this family of Sooner fans, talking all Sooner recruiting here on this channel, growing it and diving deeper into offers. So you'll see a lot of offer videos coming over the next week. Players have been getting some offers at the camps. I like to stick to the current class because it's my brain power, but you may see some for some future classes, especially a particular quarterback that we feel like is probably going to come here. Now, Coop talked about another player that looks like he has an opportunity. He's probably going to pick Oklahoma. Watch that video here, as well as our latest live. So, we'll talk soon. Peace.